You stated it correctly when they called it a fee. That's really interesting. I'm not sure that you want me to go into that. But they made it a fee so they could avoid calling it a tax, because it took a lot more votes. It took 76 votes to pass it as a tax in the House of Representatives. It only took 51 votes to pass it as a fee. So therefore they made a fee out of it. First off, even in the times when I was state representative up there, about 8 years before I got there, this shortfall, people, they seem to be led to believe that, well, this shortfall just happened this year. It's like going broke. You probably didn't go broke from one decision. You probably went broke because you made bad decisions for a long time. And that's what happened up there. Years ago, we quit having a balanced budget. We would borrow money from the rainy day fund, which if you're borrowing money out of your savings account, I would say your budget's not balanced, wouldn't you? Because you're borrowing money out of your savings account. Then they also took money from one-time funds that they would take out of other little pockets of money that they found. They would do that. So it wasn't a balanced budget. It wasn't a balanced budget for probably 10 years before we got to this situation. But just like you lose a little bit, you lose a little bit. And so you're 200,000 debt this year, and 300,000 debt next year, and 400,000 debt next year. And ma'am, the 900,000, that's really not true. It's about 1.25 billion. So they have fuzzy math. Maybe they need to go back to public schools, tell us to make private schools and charter schools. First off, the law, if it takes effect, won't take effect until August 25th. And second, there has been a lawsuit filed to stop it. And no one, and I mean no one knows, including the State Tax Commissioner, who I just talked to a week ago, knows how that's going to turn out. And until they find out how that's going to turn out, we don't know what's really going to happen. But we worked very hard, and we predicted, I think I even told you guys, we predicted a year ago that they were going to attempt to do it, and it wasn't going to happen. They were going to make it a fee. So we started very early in visiting with people in the House of Representatives and the Senate as well. If you're going to do a fee, you write it up correctly. And they did. They wrote it up correctly where it would not negatively impact the compact at all. I can tell you a little bit about it, because a little bit's all I know about it. One of our wholesalers is actually involved and is named themselves in the lawsuit as one of the complainants. Beyond that, I really don't know. I think it's being funded by a group that they are called like petroleum companies or something, but they're really a consortium of convenience stores, convenient chains that are doing it. Well, I used to ask them when I was in the state legislature, would you please tell me the difference between a fee and a tax? I mostly think it's the way you spell it, because it's a tax. And it really is a tax, and they're right about that, in my opinion. But guess what? My opinion doesn't count, because I'm not going to, they're going to be appealing to in front of the judge. Neither was I in the state legislature, so my opinion really doesn't count. But they probably have a pretty legitimate discussion about that, because if half of it is a tax and the other half is a fee, what's the difference? Is it all fees or is it all taxes? And they have a lot of argument. They're saying, well, because it's specified for a certain use, that it can be a fee. Because it's a fee we're going to charge for this use. So they have arguments on the other side too, that it's a fee because it's specified for something in particular, so therefore it's legal. Well, obviously, we don't know how it's going to affect the nation, because we don't know what's going to happen. And anyone that states that they know what's going to happen has themselves very misinformed. Because until the lawsuit is settled, we don't know. The judge could decide to put a stay on it. He could decide to put a hold on the law taking effect. He could say, well, he could just throw it out, in which case then it takes effect. So to tell you how it's going to affect the nation, I really can't, because I don't know what's going to happen. And anyone else that says they know what's going to happen has got themselves misinformed and is misinforming other people. I think if you talk to the state tax commissioner himself, he has to make preparations like it's going to take effect, which is going to cost him lots of dollars in manpower. And if it doesn't take effect, then he'll waste all that money. But he can't afford not to do that because on August 25th, it may take effect, in which case he has to be prepared for it to take effect. So it's going to affect them. It's going to make them spend money that we don't need to be spending. The fact that we're having to defend another lawsuit for unconstitutionality, which happens multiple times, which, by the way, for what it's worth, the only group that was given a lot more money this year was, guess what? The Attorney General's office. Like, they increased their budget by 50%, while everyone else is going broke, you know, money for schools, but their budget's increased 50%. You think it might be because they're anticipating lawsuits about unconstitutionality of this law and several others? Maybe. Yeah, we're still under the same law that we were always under. We're still under the same agreement we're always under. So it's business as usual for us. But we would obviously like to know that because it would change the way some of our retailers would do business.